All right, hey, welcome to the Lovecraft eZine podcast, and this is September the 9th, 2018. No guest today. So we got a lot of things, we'll just talk about a lot of different topics. What the hell are you doing, Rollick? People already asking me about that Pete Rollick photo
Yeah.
that I posted on the
Yeah.
eZine message board and on my Twitter account.
Yeah.
And on my Facebook page. And all I can say is, I'm married to an attorney, and as she put it to me, Pete had no expectation of privacy when this
Nope.
was taken.
That was taken at the second Necronomicon. So, God, 4 years ago, almost 5 years ago now.
Has it been that long, really?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
And who was it? Our friend. Can't think of his name right now. Vince.
Yeah, Vince LaRosa.
Vince picked me up someplace and began force feeding me alcohol.
Force feeding you.
Minus the force.
Well,
may the force be with you.
Force. And this is
that
what happens.
Explains why you look so much younger in that photo.
Yeah, it's a good couple of years away.
All right, let's do introductions. I'm Mike Davis, Lovecraft eZine, editor, reader, podcast guy. I do a few other things too, but we'll leave that for later. Rick, introduce yourself.
Rick Lay, writer whose son was married wearing Batman cufflinks.
Yesterday, right?
Yesterday, yes.
Oh, congratulations.
You raised that kid right. So, Pete.
I do laundry for a living now. The last 3 days, I believe I've done 14 loads of laundry, for unappreciative little girls.
Mm.
Do you know any of them?
Yeah, they are my children.
Okay.
Please, let's be clear. They are my unappreciative little girls.
Okay.
So,
Kelly
Young, executive editor of Strange Eons, and on the Dead Again podcast as well.
All right. I thought you were going to say the Dead Again pasta.
And eating Dead Again pasta right now as we speak.
I hate Dead Again pasta. I can never warm up pasta. It's just disgusting.
You have an issue of Strange Eons coming out.
Yeah, in fact we got the proofs back, and boy, they look really, really great. That Nick Gucker cover, and fiction by Clay McLeod Chapman, John C. Foster, Alan Baxter, Brian Evanson. It's a really great looking issue, and it should be. Pre-orders are out already. Or pre-orders are up already at www.strange-eons.com. And Rick Tillman tells me that those who have pre-ordered will be being sent out this coming week.
That's strange-eons.com with an AEONS, by the way.
Yes, thank you.
All right. Well, this has been a quiet week. Thankfully, there's been absolutely no drama in the Lovecraft and small indie fiction horror community. So,
what sand pile have you put your head in?
Oh, was there something and I missed it? I'm sorry.
Yeah, but we're not going to bring it up here.
No, we're not. We're just going to make fun of it.
I'll just say Avatar seems to have moved somewhere. We have chaos in a certain place. It's not the center of the universe.
Oh. Because that would be here, right?
Yes.
All right. Mr. Rollick, what were you saying about Netflix and a Japanese a Shudder movie?
So yeah, Shudder, Shutter is kind of it's a traditional ghost story. I saw this many years ago, and then I saw the remake. The remake is good. I like the original better, mostly because just for a couple scenes. but it's a really decent horror film. It's sort of a revenge ghost story, and I would highly recommend it.
And
Kelly,
this
you seen
is on the regular Netflix.
Regular Netflix.
I don't know if I have seen this or not. The shutter refers to a camera shutter, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. I feel like I might have seen it. Is this like old? 15 years old, maybe?
It could possibly be that old. It was remade starring what's the guy who was on
Kiefer, wasn't it?
no, Dawson's Creek.
Oh,
I knew that. I would be ashamed of myself.
He was a friend on Dawson Creek, and then he was in that
in Fringe. I know
Fringe,
who you're talking about.
Oh, now I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, he was in the remake, but the Japanese version is really, really decent.
So 15 years ago is an old movie now?
Well, I mean, how old's your son, Mike?
Yeah, he's 16.
Okay.
So how old is the shutter? The original Japanese.
Let's look it up and find out, shall we?
Tonk82 on the YouTube channel just said it was from 2004, so that was close.
All right. So it's 15 years old.
Okay, so, yeah, okay, all right. I'm going to watch that because if Pete Relic says to watch it, there's probably a good reason to watch it.
Yeah, it's probably it's when I watched it originally, God, probably 15 years ago, it was subtitled. So you gotta. Some people don't like subtitles. Whatever. But
Some people aren't half deaf, so.
I just have one question.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Since I was at a wedding last night, I didn't get to go to movie night. What did you guys watch?
We watched Devil's Gate, which is on my list of things to talk about today.
Okay.
And I do recommend it. In most, if not all, of the crowd. So, okay, Kelly, you wanted to strenuously recommend the Happy Time Murders?
Oh, geez. No, I wanted. What's the opposite of strenuously recommend? I watched this.
Strenuously unrecommend?
I watched this pile
Give
of
it
shit,
a
you
thumbs
guys.
down.
avoid like the plague.
I felt so bad for Melissa McCarthy, and I don't know if you guys know that I like 12-year-old humor. So anything that's
I think
just
everyone that listens or watches this podcast.
I would hope so by now. And I saw that trailer and I was giggling my ass off. I thought this looks like some good filthy puppet fun. And I didn't laugh once in the movie, including the scenes that were in the trailer that made me laugh, didn't make me laugh in the film itself. So whoever edited that trailer deserves an Oscar.
Good filthy puppet fun.
It was bad. I just felt bad for everybody involved.
Yeah, when I saw the trailer, I have not seen the movie, but the trailer was awesome.
Yeah, the movie not so much.
You just feel dirty afterwards, don't you?
No, that's what I wanted to feel. I mean, I'm a big fan of Pete Jackson's Meet the Feebles and Avenue Q and stuff like that. This was nothing like that. I don't even know how to describe how unfunny it was and how disappointing it was.
All right. I need to make a note. Do not watch Happy Time Murders.
Yeah.
We're going to discuss Castle Rock, especially with the recent reveals on episode 9, but we're not going to do that. That's going to be the last thing we discuss today. So if you've not watched Castle Rock yet, you can shut us off at that point and come back and listen later. Hopefully you come back and listen later. Anyway, so what's the packet?
Oh, the package.
Was I not supposed to say that out loud? I'm sorry.
Yeah, you did say that out loud. So
Was I not supposed to say that out loud?
So it has absolutely no Lovecraftian or horror content whatsoever, but there's this really filthy movie on Netflix called The Package. It is your typical college TNA fest gone bad. And I laughed my ass off.
This is, just to clarify, not Kelly Young's.
Not Kelly Young's movie.
package.
No, Kelly
and
Young's
not Kelly
movie
Young's package.
is hilarious.
Yeah.
So what is it?
If you've not seen Kelly Young's package, you really, really should, because it's brilliant.
All right, here we go, guys.
Jesus Christ.
No, I did see the trailer for that, and I thought it looked very funny.
I really enjoyed it. I was kind of ashamed of enjoying it.
It's a Porky's type movie.
Yes,
is what you're telling me?
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's about a bunch of kids. They're in high school. I think they're seniors who go on a camping trip, and things go horribly, horribly wrong.
Okay.
So,
well, okay, we got our Porky's type movie discussion out of the way. Welcome to Night Vale. We were discussing that a little bit before we started. Is anyone here a fan of Welcome to Night Vale? It's a very popular show.
It's not for me.
It's not for you?
I've seen a couple episodes, and then I was just sort of like, yeah, I know where this is going.
Listen to, you mean?
Yeah.
I watched it once years ago. I couldn't get into it.
Wait a minute. Is there a visual Welcome to Night Vale? Or
No, I just,
you guys just...
Yeah.
Isn't this on YouTube? Don't you listen to it? Or?
It's a podcast.
It's a podcast. All right.
Yeah. Okay, well, I was going to ask whoever was a fan to describe the show, but I think everybody out there knows what it is. I couldn't get past episode 1.
I gave it, a good 7 or 8 episodes before I gave up on it. And I get the premise, and I think it's clever.
Yeah.
It just wasn't what I was looking for. I think I had it in my head that there was going to be some scares involved. It felt like a very G-rated radio show to me.
Yeah, it was kind of dry for me.
I do like the premise, but yeah, the execution and a bunch of people love the show, and that's fine. That's great.
You know who should be totally ripping that off and doing it better is
Matt Bartlett.
Yes, Matthew M. Bartlett, since that's what the premise for most of his stories are. That would be something I would enjoy listening to.
Yeah. We should have him on.
Again.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've had him on. We'd be happy to have him on again. I love Matt.
Yeah,
I mean,
he's a sweetheart.
I love the concept of WXXT so much that it's just the idea that this creepy radio station just broadcasts.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there is a book. What's it called?
Gateway to Abominations?
No, I'm not talking about by Matt, but he did have actually 2 stories in it.
Lost Signals, maybe?
Yes, Lost Signals. Thank you. Max Booth 3 or
Max Booth the Third.
Yeah, I don't know him, but I somehow, I really like this concept, this premise too, guys. What we're talking about, and somehow Lost Signals went completely under my radar when it came out. I think 1 or 2 years ago, and I just missed it. And now they've got a new one out with another premise that I really like called Lost Films. So Max is sending both to me, and I can't wait to read them.
Yeah, he's coming to Orlando for a horror convention, and to be honest with you, he's the only person I have any interest in going to see. Everybody else just doesn't thrill me. You know
what the Night Vale series reminds me of? That it's on Netflix now, I believe, and I think it's also on Hulu. That was maybe just so dumb. It was really funny. But have you guys watched this series called The Strange Calls? It's a series out of Australia.
Never even heard of it.
Yeah, well, let me read the summary on it.
I did catch a season of that. The guy in the trailer, he's a cop.
Yes. Yeah.
He's like the only cop.
A lighthearted supernatural cop show set in an Australian seaside community of Coyne. Don't know if I'm saying that right. A young constable arrives to take the night shift, answering calls from the residents who apparently have some special problems at night. His girlfriend dumps him, his office is a beat-up trailer, and his sidekick is an elderly gentleman who favors a Dungeons & Dragons-style board game. Quote, it can get pretty weird around here when the sun goes down. You know, I can't recommend this series enough. It was only for one season, but it's really enjoyable. You know, if you haven't seen it, you should. In fact, I think I'm going to watch it again because I've only seen it one time. So, all right, what else we got? Speaking of Castle Rock, we were discussing Haven a little bit before the show as well. And you guys were saying that's based on the Colorado Kid. Is that right?
That's how it was billed. I never got the indication that there was anything from the Colorado Kid in it. They never even touched the mystery of that.
Yeah, I think in the third season, the Colorado Kid came into play, his murder, and there was a lot of callbacks to, whatever was going on back then is now going on again. But
did they ever provide a solution to that mystery?
No, not to my knowledge. I think there was this idea that whatever was going to tie up the current situation was going to explain the past situation.
And then the series got canceled.
And then the season, yeah, or at least I've never seen the ending. So.
Well, I've tried to watch that series twice, as I told you guys before we started the show, and I've not been able to watch past an episode or two both times.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we should discuss the novel.
You know what? That's one of the Stephen King novels that I have not read. I'm sure Kelly has.
I read it. Yeah, it's not a novel. It's more like a, or I guess it would be a very short novel.
Novella?
A little longer than a novella. I think it felt very much like a pulp detective novel from the 70s. You know, it was 110 pages or something like that. Which is
what it was supposed to be. Yeah, right. There was a whole series. But yeah,
there wasn't really anything supernatural in it, except for the fact that they couldn't explain what had happened. There was no explanation given for this mystery.
Yeah,
it was a mystery without a solution.
Yeah, it was a bit of a letdown for me because of that.
Yeah, the same here. And he admits that in his afterword or his introduction. Stephen King says, "You're either going to love this or hate it." And unfortunately, I'm with the haters.
I never read it because it didn't look like my. I just, from the premise, I didn't think I would enjoy it. So,
I mean, you can be vague about. I mean, like from a Buick 8, he doesn't dot all the T's, but you got a pretty good idea of what's going on.
Right.
Yeah. Well, somebody just wrote on the live chat that they bought A Long Dark Grim Road today by Joe Pulver. Thank you for doing that. Thank you to everyone who has bought it. If you buy the print, then the Kindle is 99 cents, I believe. It's cheaper. It's $2.99 if you just buy the Kindle by itself. Yeah, it's very, very different, as you know. I suppose you could say about any Joe Pulver story or book. But
can you give us a brief synopsis?
A weary coach struggles across a merciless landscape, fighting the relentless bitterness of the wind. It is a land of endless gray bogs, of mud-sucked hills, of twisted and impenetrable forest, a land of sin, a land of death. Skipping forward a little bit, battered and wind-whipped and coated in dust, the men of God inside the laboring coach are every bit as grim as the country that seeks to engulf them. They endure, they must, shadowed at all times by the other wolves, haunted by the way home. Defended by purity and American Winchester rifles, their resolve is their greatest strength and the nightmare that surrounds them. For their mission is paramount, and it must not be permitted to falter, which I realize tells you absolutely nothing about the plot, which is a good thing. So, it's a good work.
Cool.
I've not read these two books yet, but I want to mention them. I get sent a lot of books, but these particularly caught my eye. I've not had a chance to read them yet. Let me just emphasize that, but they do look very good, and I've heard from other people that they're good. One is called The Fen, F-E-N, for those listening later, by Michael. I know I'm going to get this wrong, Michael. I'm sorry. Bayens, B-A-E-Y-E-N-S. And great cover, too. I really like this cover.
Yeah, that's nice.
That's a nice cover. And then The Sea Was a Fair Master by Calvin Dimmer. And it's a collection of 23 stories. And I've heard a lot of good things about this. Oh, wait a second. A strong debut by a masterful new voice in horror. Don't miss it. Philip Fracassi, author of Behold the Void.
I think
Okay, this book is probably no good at all if Fracassi blurbed it.
Yeah, I hear a Fracassi blurbed it because of that.
Yeah, exactly. And this is, if you're listening later, Philip, this is your punishment for not being here today. But no, seriously though, I've heard a lot of good things about this book. The Sea Was a Fair Master by Calvin Dimmer, D-E-M-M-E-R. So, okay. Everybody hear me okay? I got a new microphone, remember? We got a little echo on me? Okay. I was told that we need a new mic.
Yeah, but we meant a new person to moderate the show, not a microphone.
Yeah. I was told this repeatedly. So, all right, let's test that. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
All right, I can hear you too. All right, I don't like the earbuds, but I'll deal with it. All right, I heard that the new Halloween movie is really, really good.
I saw that too. It just was it TIFF that it just premiered at?
Yes.
Toronto? Okay.
Yes.
It's been getting some pretty decent reviews.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest though. It doesn't have to be great. They're calling it the best Halloween sequel ever. That's not a super high bar.
Well, I saw have you seen the trailer?
Yeah.
It's very intriguing.
Yeah. Jamie Lee Curtis with her long, straight grandma hair.
Yeah.
Kicking ass with a shotgun. I'm not sure how I feel about that, especially since, I saw Halloween H2O just recently, which is kind of the same story. She comes back for that one, and I was actually surprised at how decent a film it was. So I'm not sure why they felt like they needed to go this route with it.
I was really intrigued by the beginning of the trailer where, I don't know who this is, a psychologist or something, brings Michael Myers his mask. It's kind of an eerie moment.
Now, this is Carpenter's involved in this one, right?
He's given it his okay, basically.
Okay.
Which is more than can be said for anything after Halloween 2.
And this assumes that Halloween 2 and everything else never happened.
Yeah. They're tossing out the zombie movies, thank God, and they're tossing out even Halloween 2, because I guess, that whole premise that she and Michael Myers are brother and sister, that was introduced in Halloween 2, and Carpenter has long said that he regretted doing that. He thought that was a bit of a cop-out.
In the trailer, someone actually says, I heard that she was his brother, and they're like, no, this is just a rumor.
Right.
Is Halloween H2O thrown in as well?
Yeah. Everything. This pretends that nothing but the first Halloween has ever happened.
This is kind of like throwing out Superman 3 and Superman 4, which you should do.
Or I would compare it to what the Japanese did with Godzilla when they rebooted him in the 90s, was it?
Yeah.
That they threw out everything but the first movie.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not a huge Halloween fan, but I will definitely go see this. This looks interesting to me. at the same festival and not getting great reviews is the new Predator film.
Oh no.
Yeah, so that's a bummer.
All right, guys, let me know if you get an echo again. For some reason, my half-deafness is really bothering me with the earbuds. I'm going to have to try something different next week.
Okay.
It really, I just say what you said really bothered me because Shane Black has been trying to finance a Doc Savage movie, and if his Predator reboot fails, there's probably less chance of that ever coming to pass.
Yeah, well, maybe and maybe not. You know, he gets movies made. He's still pretty well respected, so I don't think one miss does much against him.
So on that note, didn't I see that like there was a list of some of the worst movies ever made? I think 3 Transformers films were on there.
Only 3? Aren't there 5 Transformers films?
What's that actor's name in the show, in those movies?
Oh, I don't even.
I think he's the highest paid actor in Hollywood right now. I think I read that somewhere.
Matt Damon?
No.
Yeah.
Oh, are you talking Mark Wahlberg?
Yes, Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah.
I was very surprised to read that.
Yeah, I just, making a bad movie doesn't matter if it makes money for the studio.
Yeah.
Well, it may not matter, but down the road it catches up with you. Because people stop going to see the movies. That's what, like, Justice League paid the price for Batman versus Superman.
Yeah.
It was a better, I mean, it had its flaws, but it was a much better movie.
Yeah.
Sorry, what?
I said Justice League was a much better movie than Batman versus Superman, but I think it paid the price.
Yeah, that's what I thought you said. Yeah, no.
Sorry, Rick, you're not on the show anymore.
Nice knowing you, Rick.
If the director's cut, if this, whatever they called it, the super edition of Batman v Superman would have played on the theaters, it would have done much better. So, but that's okay. You guys can agree to disagree.
I have to judge what I saw, not what I would have to fork out extra money for to get a decent movie.
Well, will you see the super director's cut 20 years from now?
It was really good. I thought the director.
Now, just to use a model for director's cuts, Lord of the Rings had 2 versions. And the one that was great in the theater and the extended ones were superior, but they were still, you got greatness to begin with. I won't say I haven't seen the extended cuts of the Hobbit movies because I didn't like the Hobbit as much.
Yeah, me either. It was really the idea behind the Batman v Superman director's cut was that so much got cut from the theatrical version that a lot of the story didn't even make sense. Once you put that stuff back in, it makes sense. But that's okay. We could argue about Batman v Superman all day, and we're not going to agree or disagree with each other. So let's not do that because that will be boring.
I saw what you did there.
Huh? What'd you say?
I saw what you did there.
To recommend some more movies, there's a movie that I stumbled across called The Nines, starring none other than Ryan Reynolds. 2007 looks like. Have any of you guys seen this movie?
I missed this one.
It's a movie that you can't really talk about, but all I can say is it's very Philip K. Dickian. And so if you're into that, you should check out this movie. It's not a perfect movie by any means, but I really liked it. I really liked what ultimately the movie was all about.
So is this a science fiction film to a degree?
Let me read you the IMDb synopsis. A troubled actor, a television showrunner, and an acclaimed video game designer find their lives intertwining in mysterious and unsettling ways. Which sounds nothing like a Philip K. Dick themed movie or science fiction or anything like that, but it's definitely worth a watch. So I'm not saying it's Lovecraftian or that it's horror or anything like that. Yeah, it would bend more towards science fiction. But speaking of Lovecraftian influences, and you posted about this too, Kelly, on the Strange Eons Facebook page. Director James Wan talks about Lovecraftian influences on the superhero movie Aquaman.
Yeah. I'm not sure how I feel about this.
Depends on how it plays out.
Well, I'm not sure that. I hope that what he's talking about is he took some nods from the idea that there is more down under the water than we know about, rather than trying to tie an ancient thing from outer space as an aquatic creature. That's always, the meme of Aquaman writing Cthulhu and, saying that, how do you like me now, basically. That makes no sense because he's got power over all the creatures of the sea, but Cthulhu is not a sea creature. He happens to be trapped under the sea.
Yeah, and in the article, which is on sci-fi.com, SYFY, I think he's going exactly where you want him to go. There's a quote from him that says, "It shows you a part of Earth that we've never seen before. That's what enticed me to it, the opportunity to play on a big canvas. There's 7 kingdoms in the underwater world, and in my movie we get to explore them." And a little bit later on it says, "But don't worry, it will not be 2 hours of cosmic and existential dread." Juan says that the movie will be a ton of fun, akin to what we saw in the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie. So there you go.
This is probably what DC should have done from the beginning. We didn't need to see this Justice League movie this soon. Batman v Superman, although I didn't love it, I liked it just fine. Wonder Woman was a lot of fun. Following that with Aquaman and having it be a good time, I think that giving these characters their own movie first and letting us figure out if we like them or not before tossing them all in together might have been the way they should have gone.
DC really made a mistake when they tried to catch up to Marvel quickly. It just can't be done. And
Yeah.
Why would you want to do it? I mean, there's a lot of... I mean, Shazam looks fun as hell.
Yeah.
So...
Well, I always thought the mistake was if they wanted to catch up quickly, they should have used the TV series as a mechanism and tied them to the movies. This way, if you would use the Flash from TV, I mean, you would have been able to do certain things like have Ra's al Ghul on Arrow. But if if we had seen a Justice League where half of the guys came from television, and you just have Superman and Batman from the movies, it would have been a better setup, better launch than what they had to do.
That's not a bad point because we've gotten to know those characters a lot, and for the most part they work. I know that we've all kind of given up on those DC television shows now, but I think that's a matter of you can only tell these stories so many times before we all kind of go, oh boy.
It's also a matter of drama. I don't want to watch a soap opera.
Well,
of course, I say that, and I love Smallville, but it seemed to work more.
To be honest with you, I watch all of them. I really enjoy them, but in different ways. I'm going into Arrow knowing that the Arrowverse is borrowing heavily from Batman and the Outsiders, and telling those stories.
Yeah, Green Arrow has always been, the poor man's Batman, really.
Right. Well, except here they literally stole whole storylines from Batman and just made them Arrow stories. Okay, great. Legends of Tomorrow, I'm digging it because it's irreverent, and
that is the one that I do continue to watch. As I told Kelly a few weeks ago, it's a really stupid series, I think, that I really, really enjoy.
I watched Supergirl with my children, my girls. they love it because it's a girl empowerment show.
Very inspiring. Yeah.
Yeah. The one I cannot get into is Black Lightning.
I tried as well. Yeah.
I
think that says more about you guys than the show, but whatever.
Are you watching it?
I don't. But I mean, what are you calling me racist?
I'm returning your barb. I'm not racist.
I just want to say I had a high opinion of the CW shows. I've given up on them, not because they're bad, just because I'm oversaturated with superhero shows.
Right. And, you know, that might be part of the problem with DC trying to muscle into the movieverse.
Yeah.
You know, Marvel is nailing it. If you're not up to the same standards, you're not going to.
You're right. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah, no. You're always going to be second best.
And I just can't get past the fact that Barry Allen is he married now? I don't know.
Yeah, he's married.
Yeah,
dated and loved and is now married to essentially his stepsister. There's just that's just an icky feeling. It really is. I mean, whoever decided that Iris Allen should be Iris West should be Barry Allen's stepsister on this show, it was, I don't know. It's not a good decision.
Well, I find when I was watching the shows regularly, I'm getting too much of a fix for a week. You know, if I watch Marvel, I'm only getting really Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. weekly. I mean, there have been a few things like Runaways on Hulu, which was weekly only for 10 episodes, and Cloak and Dagger. But generally, I'm picking up things and binge watching on Netflix.
Yeah.
And so I don't OD on Marvel superheroes. In fact, I kind of feel I want more. They're reeling me in very well. When I was DC, I'm getting too much, 4 nights a week. It's a little too much to swallow.
Yeah.
And this is the other thing that we were talking about earlier, is that if a show takes a bad step and loses audiences, there is so much available now that even if the show corrects itself, the chances are that the audience won't come back.
Yeah. Rick, I think you got some noise in your background.
Okay, that's my son probably moving around.
I just hit your mute button just for a second until it's done. Thanks. And now on top of all this, guys, we've got this new DC Universe streaming service for even more superhero stuff.
Yeah, there's going to come a point where we're all just a little tired of this. Even the fans, I think.
No, I'm a big DC fan, and I'm getting tired of it. Look, I've got the Wikipedia page pulled up, and it's got original programming and older stuff. The original programming is DC Daily, which is a news program that probably no one's going to give a damn about. Titans premieres October the 12th. Swamp Thing, Doom Patrol.
What? Really? Swamp Thing and Doom Patrol are coming up?
Yeah. I mean, they're separate shows.
Yeah. Geez, I wish Joe was here to talk about this stuff. He must be going crazy. Is he even going to be able to watch this over there?
I don't know. It just depends on where they make it available. It's basically another thing like the CBS streaming service. I guess that's the idea.
Right.
Yeah, Swamp Thing, Doom Patrol, Stargirl. These last 3 says premiere in 2019, which can mean anything. Those are live action. Okay, now animation, Young Justice, Outsiders, and Harley Quinn, which they've labeled as an adult comedy.
Oh boy.
And in development, please God, let this go out of development as soon as possible is Metropolis.
Right. That's the one that Lois and Lex, but no Clark Kent or Superman, right?
Yes, I don't. You know what? I don't care about Metropolis before Clark Kent got there.
You know what I'd like to see is more Superman without Superman in it.
I mean, like
I wasn't getting enough of that on Krypton.
You know, what I really enjoy is Lovecraftian novels without any Lovecraftian creatures in them whatsoever.
You know what I like is porn, but no sex in it.
Oh, so you're British.
All right, you guys have lost me. All right, let's get off DC.
Well, hang on just a second before we do that.
Yes.
In all seriousness, no, I watched about 6 episodes of Black Lightning, and I just couldn't get into it. I really wanted it to be another version of Luke Cage, which I ended up loving so much. And it just wasn't. I think that's probably because of the limitations of being on a CW show. It also didn't seem like it was connected to the other shows.
No.
It was, from what I read, it was in a different universe, yeah.
So that's confusing when you've connected all your other shows.
Yeah, that's very true.
And then I see that on this next big crossover, which we had talked about, the way we do enjoy the crossovers of these shows, even if we're not watching all the shows, they're going to be introducing the new Batwoman. And I think that she's getting her own show as well, or is that she's going to be a regular on?
Yes, she's getting her own show.
Okay.
Which implies that there's a Batman.
You would think.
In some universe, because they do have multiple Earths on this. So Supergirl's on her own little world. So maybe Batwoman's. They should put Batwoman on Supergirl's Earth. Then at least you've had Batman more alluded to more. I think I know there's been allusions on Arrow, but he's been alluded to more in Supergirl.
Oh, really?
Like something like, "This is why we moved from Gotham City." I remember was the famous one. And somebody, I think they were talking to Guardian, who's Jimmy Olsen's guy, and they were talking, "You're behaving like Superman's frenemy."
Frenemy.
Yeah, they meant Batman.
Yeah, well, as we've been discussing, I think most of us have given up on the CW shows, but we do enjoy those crossovers, and I'm looking forward to the next crossover. Superman's supposed to be in it as well, so I'm looking forward to that.
Now, is that the cat that they got playing him for a couple episodes in Supergirl?
Yes, that cat, which is geared more towards the Christopher Reeve type of Clark Kent.
Okay.
Superman.
Okay. I dig it. I'll watch it.
Yeah. Gotta say, I was, from the few episodes I did see of Supergirl, I was disappointed in Martian Manhunter. I liked him. I liked the way they portrayed him better in Smallville. You know.
Yeah. Smallville gets a lot of crap, but there were some moments of brilliance in that show.
There was a lot more than moments. They did some really groundbreaking things at the time, and they really paved the way for all these CW shows.
Sure, and Allison Mack wouldn't be able to get women for sex slaves without it. So
who?
Allison Mack.
Oh God.
But I gave up on Smallville sort of by accident. They used to rerun it twice during the week, and when they put it opposite Star Trek Enterprise, I said, "Oh, I don't have to. Well, I'll catch it when they rebroadcast it on Saturday." And they stopped doing that. But in the beginning, Smallville, it took a couple of seasons for it to find its way. In the beginning, the first season was Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yeah, it was very Monster of the Week in the first season, for sure.
Yeah, and there's something in the town which is causing all these supervillains to arise. It's kryptonite.
Yeah. It paved the way for those shows. So.
Yeah, and in many ways, not only did it pave the way, it also showed you what not to do, because some of the costuming and characterization was really bad.
By the way, I know I'm going to get flack from everybody in the world for this, but I like the Green Arrow in Smallville better than the one currently on the CW.
I have a I can't remember what that actor's name was. Justin
Hartley.
Yeah, okay. I have a bootlegged DVD of an Aquaman pilot with him as Aquaman.
Yes, I'd forgotten all about that.
And then he ended up being Green Arrow instead. And it is interesting that there are these certain characters that they're really trying to get us to love.
Yeah.
I have a bootleg DVD of Adrienne Palaki, I think is how you say her name, who is currently in the Orville and was on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. as Mockingbird, playing Wonder Woman.
Oh, that's right. I forgot.
It was a pilot for Wonder Woman.
Right.
Yeah.
She was good, but the story was it had her strangling people with a rope.
Well,
probably not a good thing.
What's wrong with that?
It was actually somewhat ripping me off, because Pete knows my writings. I decided to create a female hero trained by the Phantom of the Opera who used to strangle people with a rope, and so I said this would be like Wonder Woman, except we used the lasso to strangle people.
Nice.
So none of you are going to give me shit. This is good about liking the Green Arrow in Smallville better than the current Green Arrow.
I would have given you shit a couple of seasons ago, back when Green Arrow was still pretty good.
Yeah.
It's tough to argue that point now.
I can't make any judgment because I never saw the other Green Arrow.
The Green Arrow in Smallville was basically the idea behind him was he's older than Clark. He's even a couple of years older than Lex Luthor, and he comes across Clark, and he's been Green Arrow for a while, and he's trying to basically get this philosophy around to Clark that get out of your own hometown. There's people all over who need you, and you can do a lot more than I can do. You've got all these powers that I don't. He says that basically in the first one or two episodes that they discover each other's identities. So anyway, I'm sure.
What was that? There was one episode where they almost had a Justice League.
There were several like that.
No, but there was the one when they first did. They had Impulse and
Cyborg.
I think Cyborg.
Yeah, that was 6. That was very good. And then they had season 9 where they teamed up with the Justice Society, which
I remember. I think I saw the Arrow version of not Smallville. I just don't remember it well enough.
Yeah, it was more of an hour and a half because it was 2 episodes, and it was bloody fantastic. The only negative thing I can say about that was that the villain could have been better. But anyway, I think I better get off DC before I bore the hell out of everybody.
Well, we want to talk Iron Fist.
I know.
Give Marvel extra time. I'll just say Iron Fist. If you didn't like Iron Fist season 1, you will like Iron Fist season 2. It's vastly superior.
It seems much better so far.
They took care of the fight problem. They cut down on the corporate intrigue. When you have to do corporate stuff, it happens very quickly and gets out of the way.
What'd you say about the Kung Fu, Kelly? It was much better. What were you saying?
I felt like they put everybody through some major training camps because the fight sequences were so much better. But then Rick was saying they ended up grabbing the stunt and fight coordinator from, what was it again?
Creed and the Black Panther.
Right. So some big hitters. They're trying to make this look better.
So you're saying everybody was Kung Fu fighting?
Right. Their kicks were fast as lightning. Yes.
Okay.
Last season,
it was all a little bit frightening.
Last season, the Finn Jones, I think is his name, the actor who played Iron Fist, wasn't as good a fighter as the actress playing playing Colleen Wing, which is Jessica Henwick, I think. She was more of the star of the show back then.
All right, there is a do we need to say anything else about Iron Fist 2? Did that cover it? There is a movie out that just came to Amazon Video. You can rent it, called Black Wake. I've not seen it. Looks very Lovecraftian. You know, maybe some listeners can check it out and let us know what you think. Lovecraft eZine at gmail.com. Getting back to Devil's Gate, which we saw last night. And by the way, for those who don't know this, we do a movie night just about every Saturday night at 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 Central, 7 Pacific. And we use Rabbit to do that. If you're interested, just email me. I'll give you the details. LovecraftEzine at gmail.com again. Devil's Gate was the movie we watched last night, and it was very, very good. Again, there was some Philip K. Dickian themes, and it's a good horror movie just in general. And I would even say a Lovecraftian theme or two. I won't say when or where or who, but one of the characters actually makes the statement, is death preferable to living with what I know now, which is pretty Lovecraftian. So, yeah, Devil's Gate, if you haven't seen it. Are you, Kelly and, not Kelly, Rick and Pete, I think you guys especially would be interested in this. I don't know if you caught it when I posted about it last week on the Lovecraft eZine Facebook page, the big page. But the classic Lovecraft Studies journal, some of them are now available to read free at archive.org.
Oh, I didn't catch that. That's great.
Yeah.
I think they're trying to do something similar with Crypt of Cthulhu.
Well, I did a short URL, bit.ly/Lovecraft-studies. But, you know, just go, you could also go to just archive.org and put in quotes Lovecraft Studies, and you'll come across it, because that's basically what the URL does. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. At least there's about a dozen, at least at first glance, that I found. So anyone interested, and I think just about everybody listening probably would be interested in that, check it out. So archive.org. Do you guys want to talk about, I finally got to see Hereditary, so I can finally talk about it.
I haven't seen it yet.
I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, geez, you guys, what are you waiting for?
It's in my Netflix queue. What the hell do you want me to do?
I want you to bump
How
it
is
up.
it in your Netflix queue? It's not even on Netflix.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
Oh,
I think you'll have to rent it still. It's
Netflix.
It's on
I
Prime.
waited 2 weeks because it was only available to buy, and then when it got to the rental stage, I rented it the other day. So, yeah, so Kelly, no spoilers, but was this one of the best horror films you've seen this year, or no?
Yeah, absolutely was. I thought they built that feeling of dread throughout. You know, I was telling you back when I saw it in the theater, and I was looking around, and people were watching it through their eyes. You know, it was legitimately scary, and for some reason, it was scarier with a bunch of other people in the theater being scared.
Hereditary is #1 on my Netflix queue. Probably I'll have it Wednesday.
Oh,
you're talking about the renting the disc. I thought you meant Netflix Instant. Wow, you still rent DVDs?
I will tell you that if I drop my existing plan and try and start up my plan just with the streaming, it's more expensive.
Wow.
So I just keep my old plan, and they haven't thrown me out yet.
Wow.
I saw something the other day that was saying, I'm going to get this wrong, I'm sure, but it was was billion in the B's, that Netflix was doing something like $90 billion in business, which explains how they were able to just throw millions of dollars at all of these movies and series, these Netflix originals, you know, so that you're getting something new every week, almost to their detriment, I think, because something comes out and you're halfway through the show or the series, and then something new comes out the next week and you start watching that instead. And I'll go into my queue and see there's, I still never got to finish that Altered Carbon show even. And I was like, oh yeah, I forgot all about this.
I did watch all of that one, but I agree with you in general. They're throwing too many out there.
But this explains why they are able to. They are doing so well.
Yeah. Well, getting back to Hereditary, did you like it? Which is the better horror film, Hereditary or A Quiet Place? Because those are probably the two most talked about this year, I think.
Yeah, apples and oranges. I think completely different kind of films. One's a head film and one's an eye film.
Would you watch both of them again or just one of them again?
I'd watch both of them again. And as far as that goes, if all things being equal, I thought Upgrade was more fun than both of those.
Yeah, I still need to watch Upgrade. I would not watch A Quiet Place again. I thought it was a bit overhyped. It was definitely a good movie, but I would watch Hereditary again.
I had to watch Hereditary again just so I could kind of understand everything that had happened.
Yeah, some people are like that. Yeah, it's nothing to be ashamed of.
Hate you so fucking much sometimes.
I did think the ending was a bit rushed, but that's just an opinion.
He's trying to fully appreciate the movie here.
Yes, he is.
So on that note, based on your recommendations, I watched In a Ghostland.
Ghost Stories.
No.
Incident in a Ghostland.
What was that? It was the movie you had on movie night.
Yeah, Incident in a Ghostland. What did you think, Pete?
I really wish you had told me it was a splatter film.
It's not a splatter film.
I think we were all a little shocked because I don't know if any of us, maybe Rick had watched it on movie night, but I know that you and I and Philip all watched it after the podcast where Mike had talked about it being on. And I think we're all a little surprised that it's at how violent a film it was, especially
I haven't
because
seen it yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because I don't.
Yeah, you're not.
I don't like that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoyed the film. I know that Pete and I and Philip all kind of have the same feeling of a scene or two that could have been cut completely.
Yeah, and I wish. Okay, so having the Lovecraft tie-in there,
or we could just spoil it and say that.
Well, did nothing for me.
What?
Having the Lovecraft tie-in there did nothing for me.
Oh yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, the Lovecraft tie-in has nothing to do with the theme of the movie or anything, so that really was not much of it.
Well, now it's got a direct Lovecraft tie-in, so I've got to watch it now.
Okay. I think
the very first thing you see is a quote from Lovecraft.
Yeah. That was a little surprising to me.
Yeah, I think it would have been better if it had a tie-in rather than Lovecraft being her model. If it had been Jack Ketchum or Richard Lehman, maybe even Robert Bloch, someone who had dealt with this kind of violence in their writing. But it doesn't work for me. I mean, yeah.
The thing that drew me in about this film is, and you're right, I do not like to watch violence on TV and film. It's unavoidable in some cases, but it's just not my taste, and you guys know that, which is why you're surprised. But that's not the thing that drew me in this movie. The thing that drew me in this movie is what I can't talk about. Maybe we can talk about it on a Patreon podcast sometime with spoilers.
Okay.
But it's something I've thought a lot about, for 30 years. And even wrote a story with a similar theme, if you guys have read it. That was in the well, we won't say where it's at right now because I don't want to spoil the movie for anybody.
Okay.
But yeah, that's the main reason why I liked it. So.
That being said, I really enjoyed the film.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah, I watched it all the way through. I didn't turn it off. It did create an interesting premise, and I was not sure what was real and what was not. So,
Right.
yeah, it in that manner it works. So, yeah.
Once I did a little research into it after starting it and decided to check out, it was directed by the same guy that directed Frontiers, which is one of the more violent and visceral films that I've seen in years and years. I was not as surprised at the way the film had gone, but still surprised that you had endorsed it, Mike.
Yeah, it was violent, but I don't think it was violent for the sake of violence. I think it was trying to tell a story. It was,
Definitely, yeah.
So, what was I going to talk about next? I don't remember. Yeah, okay. You guys got anything else before we talk about?
Yeah, I got in the mail this week Pete Von Shelley's illustrated Lovecraft.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, very cool.
Very nice.
Most of this has appeared before from PS Publications. But they got some stuff that's original, such as, well, a King Kong versus Cthulhu, and Pete Bonchelli makes the comment that the way things are going, this may really happen. Because I think Legendary has the rights to Lovecraft. And there were also, I think they were doing a Lovecraft series by the people who did Godzilla. They were doing a Mythos series.
There's Lovecraft, right?
You're right. It would be public domain. I think they had intentions to do.
Oh yeah, for those listening later, this looks fantastic. This was from a Kickstarter, right? Can people order this, Rick? Do you know?
Yes, it was from a Kickstarter, and you can see the nativity scene for Cthulhu here.
Yeah,
which I find interesting.
Well, I suppose if you want to order it, you could probably just Google Pete Von Shally, VON. SHOLLY, I believe.
Yeah, I just want to show one last thing.
Yeah.
One thing, he did if you had the previous volumes from PS Publications, he had an Aurora model series. And he did more than just the 2 or 3 that you got in the illustrated Lovecraft editions.
I like that Lovecraft Hitchhikes picture.
Yeah.
It's cool. Well, it's all cool. But yeah. Anyway, if you Google Pete Von Shally, and what's the title of this? Pete Von Shally Illustrated? Is that what it is?
Lovecraft Illustrated. Put Lovecraft Illustrated Kickstarter. That's the best way to
but
get it.
Kickstarter's over, though, right? I mean, if somebody
but they'll probably give you some way to order it afterwards or something.
Yeah, that's
maybe some link in there.
Okay. The last thing I want to say is, and I need to wrap up by 6:30 my time, which is in 25 minutes. There's a new iPhone game called Cthulhu Chronicles, and it interests me because they're text adventures, Lovecraftian text adventures, and they look really good. Experience immersive. It does have images and everything too, by the way. So, experience immersive Lovecraftian horror interactive fiction stories set in 1920s New England. Each story presents its own challenges and also plays part of a larger campaign which unfolds around you as you play. You can choose different investigators. It looks really, really good. Now, these people are advertising with me, and I tried to gently say to them, about a month ago that I thought maybe it might be a mistake based on my years of marketing experience to release this for iPhone only because there's so many more Android users out there, and I just knew once I started advertising this, people get pissed off and say, where's the Android version? Which is exactly what happened. But I emailed these guys again the other day after this happened, and I said, it would be better to release these both at once, or at least advertise them both once the Android version is out. And my respect for these guys went up 1,000%, because they actually took the feedback and agreed with me. Apparently it's in beta on Android, and I believe they're going to release it on Android too. So if you're a computer interactive fiction geek like me, you grew up in the 80s and you played Infocom and Trillium, and Zork, all those kinds of games. This is like that, but it's Lovecraftian fiction. So
that sounds cool.
Yeah, it is cool. And just Google Cthulhu Chronicles, should bring you to it. You can also go to Lovecraft eZine's website and look at the ad at the very top on the left side of any page. And
I'll make sure not to make a mildly negative comment on the eZine board about them, since they're advertisers, and have them flip out completely.
I'm not kidding. My respect for these guys went way up, and I don't want to piss off an advertiser, but I don't also want to take money from someone and advertise something I don't believe in. And now I believed in this before. Now I really believe in it. So, yeah, I don't know when, but it's going to be soon for Android, for those of you who are interested. All right. That said, we want to talk about Castle Rock. And if you've not seen Castle Rock up through episode 9, you should probably shut us off for the duration of this podcast and come back later after you've seen it. So you've been warned. So let's start now. Well, Kelly, you want to start this?
Sure. I mean, Pete, have you been watching the show? So
No, sir. No, sir, I have not.
God damn it. Plug your ears.
Well, then, you know what? I'm going to bid you guys adieu.
Okay. All right.
Great to see you, Pete.
Good to see you. Thanks, buddy.
Yep.
All right. So you've seen it, right, Rick?
Yes, I've seen it. I'm current.
Okay. All right. Go ahead, Kelly.
Well, I mean, I don't know about you guys. I loved this episode. And as of last episode, I was starting to think we didn't have a show last weekend. And I really wanted to get into my theories that we were starting to look at possibly twinners or something like that King has dealt with before in The Talisman.
You said twinners and you said something else.
Well, thinnies, but that's what Rick and I have been saying forever, is that the noise they're hearing is a thinny in the woods. And it turns out,
and twinners. Okay, let me stop you right there for just a second, because I think it was a text, when you texted that to me, I had never heard those two terms.
Right, you had said, I don't want to see your porn search words.
Something like that. I had never heard those two words in relation to Stephen King, or in relation to anything. Even though I've read a lot of Stephen King books, I've not read the Dark Tower series and so forth.
But I think those terms are in the mist.
Oh, are they? If they are, I don't remember. But what I was going to say is, not knowing those, I started to kind of go that direction myself, thinking that that's where this was going. Something like a parallel
universe where we find out that the kid is actually also Henry Deaver. Henry Deaver that we have been following in the main storyline is his, what would be called in The Talisman, a twinner. We all have somebody who is like us in this other dimension, or this other alternate reality.
No, they share the name, but not the same physical appearance, because one is an adopted son and one is a natural biological son. Right.
But everything that's going on, they're experiencing as twinners also, the being locked up in a cage for 27 years. And
they don't age because they're not in their own reality.
Right. And it would appear that the bad stuff that happens around them is just the universe kind of unraveling because it knows that they're not supposed to be here.
And I really liked going back to the first episode when they asked the kid his name and he says Henry Is it Devers? All right.
Deaver.
Deaver.
No,
He says Henry Deaver. And they think, okay, he's asking for Henry Deaver,
Right.
who used to live here, to be his attorney. But no, he was actually telling them his name.
Yeah, it was nice. It was nice misdirection throughout the whole thing. I know that Rick and I were both convinced that the kid was somehow, at least partly, the father.
Yeah.
And so that was some nice misdirection. I'm really, really enjoying this. I think what I loved so much about this one is that we've seen, all the way in Star Trek's Mirror Mirror episode, and it's kind of a trope now of that that alternate universe that lives in the darkest timeline where things are bad. But when we go over to the other Castle Rock, it turns out we're the darkest timeline. The Castle Rock over there, everybody is doing much better. The entire town is doing much better. Molly is the mayor of town, and all the things that she kind of wanted to do half-assed in our universe, she has done and gone further than.
Yeah, like you're in the actual reality when somebody stepped on a butterfly a couple of years ago, or a few million years ago. Oh, yeah.
Right. So
I don't disagree with you. I really enjoyed the last episode, but I wish it hadn't taken so long to get there. I mean, this show's really slow moving.
I'm with you there.
Yeah,
I'm definitely with you there.
that's the point.
I mean, how could this have been done better? I mean,
I feel like
episode 9, there's not much time left.
No, they've got to wrap it up in this next episode.
Whereas if this would have been a reveal like on, say, episode 5 or 6, you've got a lot to play with for the next 4 or 5 episodes.
And I feel like we could have teased without making it explicit that some of the scenes we were watching weren't happening. They might not have made sense to us because we hadn't been told that they were different realities. Right. And so it could have been teased that, and revealed in episode 7 or something that, the reason that didn't make sense is because that was happening over there.
Yeah. And after it's revealed, I love that when that happens, kind of like, the Sixth Sense, where if you didn't figure out the Sixth Sense that he was actually dead, then on the rewatch, you enjoyed it even more because you're looking for all these little clues that they deliberately placed there.
I have a feeling, and I have faith in these writers, that if you were so inclined to do a rewatch of this show, I know it's so slow that you probably wouldn't be, but I'll bet you all the clues are there.
Yeah, I'm sure they are. I'm just saying they could have done that and did the reveal a little sooner than this.
I just want to bring up one thing from the episode that was previous, episode number 8.
Yes.
That was sort of a Robert Bloch tribute, I thought. They borrowed the concept. He had written this Psycho trilogy, and the 3rd volume is Psycho House, where somebody starts up a sort of amusement park that's the Psycho House. And he had played around with this idea of a house with murders that actually a serial killer committed murders in a very early short story called House of the Hatchet, which is somewhat appropriate considering what happened. And so I think the person who wrote that episode was a Robert Bloch fan.
Yeah, well, I would not be surprised.
In regards to that episode, I know that Kelly violently disagrees with Philip and I on that particular episode. Did you? I'm assuming you liked it too, Rick?
Yes.
Episode 8.
Well, episode 7 was the Sissy Spacek episode.
Right.
8 was then the one.
8 was the serial killers.
The serial killer house.
Well, what was episode 8 then?
The serial killer house. The one where what was his name? Gordon.
Yeah, we were reintroduced to a couple of people that had showed up in episode 2, I think, to buy a house, and it turns out they were.
Yes, that's right.
Right.
and that's another thing. There's too many characters out of nowhere that you're like, what the hell does this have to do with anything?
It does make me wonder. Well, okay,
but it was
what
well
next?
done. That was a very, we were talking before about not liking splatter. That was well done splatter. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, it was, but you've got all these different threads, assuming threads to a story. Are we really going to wrap up all these disparate threads in one episode now?
It seems difficult.
Yeah.
We also got to figure out who killed the African American scientist in the woods. He found his corpse stabbed in the eye.
Yeah, exactly. And are they even going to come back to that at all? Which
I assume that was Culkin, the other actor, the actor that was with him, the kid.
Yeah.
But why, we don't know.
Yeah, it's just okay. It felt like let's do this because it'll be cool, because it'll be a shocker thing, but we're never going to explain.
Well, if you think on it, on most, we've had mystery shows where they're like Murder, She Wrote, we had to tie up a lot of things in 5 minutes, and they've got an hour to resolve all these mysteries.
Yeah, that doesn't mean I agree with it. And
well, we'll have to see what the solution is. We're either going to hate the solution, or we're going to like the solution, or we're going to go, oh, it's mixed.
I do get where you guys are coming from on the Sissy Spacek episode, and I do get why you liked it. It just, I thought it was slow as hell. I thought it was very arbitrary,
I watched it a second time.
I'm sure you did.
Well, it had an excellent performance by Sissy Spacek.
Absolutely. I cannot disagree with that. Yeah.
And it tied in a lot to things you had seen earlier episodes. Or at least things that were alluded to. I mean, you were seeing things from the past, from other angles. And that was a Robert Bloch tribute too, because they did. I mentioned on a previous podcast here that they did an inversion of Psycho, where the victim is hiding in the shower with a knife.
We have a bit of a problem here on the live chat. Benjamin Handelman, who happens to be one of my biggest supporters, and I really do appreciate him. That said, a few minutes ago, he's like, Kelly is dead right. I feel like I should be giving Kelly money and support. What?
Obviously one of your smartest supporters as well.
But then he goes on to say, I also agree with Mike. This should have been like 4 episodes earlier. And then he goes, Rick is reading my mind. This is the best podcast.
Wow.
Complimentary things for everyone from Benjamin Handelman.
So
hopefully he remains a Patreon and doesn't start handing Kelly money instead.
Well, I think the criticism that almost every original series on a streaming channel like Netflix or Hulu or whatever is, all the series are slowly paced. You can make that criticism about anything, and maybe that's this. Maybe it's the whole question of atmosphere versus action, and do you want to have character development? And
I don't mind a slow burner at all, as long as it's holding my attention. That's the key,
Well, I guess so. What I'm worried about going forward with this series is that, they run into the schisma or the thinny, and by the way, this episode became the most Dark Tower thing on film that has ever happened, and that includes the Dark Tower movie. They run into not the dead girl, but the girl who had killed and eaten, all the French settlers there. And I have a fear that they are going to use the thinny in a kryptonite kind of way to explain why all of the bad things happen in Castle Rock as the series goes on. And I really, really hope that is not going to be the case.
Can you just say thinny again?
Thinny, thinny, bobini, banana, fana, fofini, fee-fi, momini, thinny.
You're talking about like a kryptonite thing like on Smallville, which it creates all these problems.
Right.
Yeah, that would be a bit unoriginal, yes.
Well,
So
I'm wondering if they're going to be doing something like, there used to be a concept that, you know, the matter and antimatter universe, that if two people meet from each universe, you destroy the whole world. They once did this on Star Trek,
Right.
the original series. Maybe the fact that this person is from another universe makes him sort of a typhoid Mary sort of infection. That just contact with him causes you to become psycho.
I think that was the implication completely, is that that, you know, he's kind of like an infection in this reality, and things are going to emanate in a bad way from him. So it's obviously what we need to do with this last episode is we need to get the old, well, I don't know what to call him, the kid Henry Deaver back to his reality. I'm going to guess that time doesn't stand still for them, because our Henry Deaver was over there for 27 years, but only 11 days had passed here. So I'm going to guess that it's going to be something similar for the kid Henry Deaver going back to his reality, and you know, he will have a young son or daughter waiting for him when he gets over there. I'm hoping that's what happens. I'm hoping for a happy ending for him.
There's so much to wrap up. There's that. There's the other Henry Deaver. There's Sissy Spacek. There's the murder house. There's, I mean, I could go on and on.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like there's enough time to wrap it up.
Yeah.
Well, they may be leaving some characters available for future Castle Rock seasons.
Right.
I think Jackie Torrance, the cab driver, will be around for a little more. But
Yeah.
you know, what would be? I just sort of, what would it be? A really cool ending would be if somehow somebody gets transported to a third dimension, and that's the Stephen King one of Needful Things.
Well, we do. You know, a few weeks ago we were discussing why isn't, you know, Needful Things, the movie, why didn't it make more of an impact? And you know, because it is a different reality.
So it definitely, there were similar events that happened in the main universe we're seeing here, because we did see a reference to shop owner in a newspaper.
Yeah.
And they were talking, they were in the episode was the hotel. It said that Castle Rock was the murder capital of the world, and that was because of everything that happened in 1991. I think that was the year they gave, which was the year of Needful Things.
Well, I'll be very interested to see how they wrap all this up. So next Wednesday, I guess, another episode of Castle Rock, and we'll talk about it on next Sunday's show after the guest. And the guest is Ellen Datlow next week, by the way, guys. So,
Oh, good.
yeah. So, everybody, thank you for listening. Guys, thanks for being here. Thanks for the discussion. Thanks especially to the Patreons who keep me going. I really appreciate you guys. And we will see everybody next week. Did we cover everything, guys?
Yeah.
I think we did. All right. We'll see everybody next week.